Hello and welcome to an exciting tutorial where we learn how to rotate an image using PHP. So we're going to rotate the actual image on disk using PHP by a number of degrees that we want. Okay, so to do that, make sure that you are running a web server of some kind so that PHP can run. So I'm using a XAMPP, which has Apache, so I've made sure that is started. Make sure you have a browser and make sure you have a text editor. So I'm using Sublime Text. You can use any text editor of your choice. So to begin with, let's create a PHP file called rotate.php. So let me save this one. Now, before I do this, let me mention that I have made a folder here in my htdocs and I've named it rotate. Now you can put this folder in your www depending on the server that you are using, or it might be called public HTML. Now in here I've put two images. One of these cartoon, this is just a computer generated image, and the other is an image created by a camera. So taken by a camera so that you see the differences. All right, so let's begin in here. That's where we are saving our document here. So I'm going to save this one as rotate.php, save. Okay, so let's begin now. To start with, I want to be able to see my image, so I'll do some HTML and say image.jpg because that's what I've named the cartoon version of the image. It's image.jpg, and I'll add a style where I say width, actually let me just say max width 500 pixels. And then I'm going to add a margin, a little bit of a margin of 10 pixels. So let me duplicate this because I want to be able to see the original and the rotated version. So this one will be called image rotated, and this other one will be the original image. And then let me add some PHP tags at the top here where we'll put the PHP logic and close that tag right there. And down here, let me add a few break tags, a second one, and then I'm going to add a button here. So I'll use a form so that we can click and the form can be submitted. Then I'm going to put an input of type submit, and it won't have a name. This one will have a value of rotate because this is the button someone presses to actually rotate the image. So another input here of type text. This one will have a name of angle, and then let's give it a default value of 90 degrees, just 90, like so, and that should be it. So let's go back to our browser. Let me go to the folder and grab rotate.php, put it there. And there we go. So we have our nice image there, we have the rotate button, and we have the one showing the angle that we are rotating by. Okay, so instead, maybe the default angle should be 0, just so we can see the difference. Okay, now for our server to be working, we have to change the part that says htdocs to localhost. Alrighty then, so localhost rotate.php. That's the one. Alright, there we go. So everything is good at this point. Now let's add some PHP so that we can create some logic. So first of all, we have to check if a post button was clicked. So let's do that using server. So I'm going to server. There's something called request method. So we are checking the request method here to make sure that the request method is equal to post. So when that is true, then somebody has clicked a button. Otherwise, if we don't do this, then as soon as we load the page, it's going to rotate our image, which is not what we want. So in here also, we have to check if, okay, we have to get a variable called angle. Let's create a variable called angle so that we know the angle. This one will be inside the post variable, and it's going to be called angle because that's what we named it down here. Okay, now we have to make sure that it's numeric. It's a numeric value, and we do nothing if it's not. So we're going to check if is numeric. Okay, this is numeric angle. Then we continue. So far, so good. And the second thing is we have to confirm that the file name actually exists that we want to rotate. So let me create a variable called file name, and let's give it image.jpg because I know that's the file name. Oh, I put the semicolon in the wrong place. All right, there we go. So the file name is here. Let's also check if the file actually exists. So we'll say if file exists, file name. So if file name exists, then we continue. So far we've checked if the angle is correct, the file name exists, then let's do our thing. So in order to rotate an image, it's just one function that we need is called image rotate. No big deal, image rotate. However, we need to give it what it wants here. So first of all, let's look at the background color. So this color, we're going to put 0 for now. This is the color that shows up in case you rotate your image at a weird angle like 20 degrees. So there'll be some empty spaces, and that's the color that will show up. For now, we'll put 0 for black. And then we need to know the angle, and we've already created the angle right there. It's coming from the user. And we need to have an image resource. No, this is not the file name of the image, but an image resource. So we have to create that resource. Okay. The resource gives you access to the pixels of an image. So let's do that and create an image resource. We're going to say image is equal to create it, we are going to say image create from JPEG. So there's image create from JPEG, there's image create from PNG, image create from string, image create from BMP, and so on. So you have to choose which one depending on the type of image you are supplying. Mine is a JPEG, so I'll use image create from JPEG and supply the file name. So we've created our image resource and we've put it there and done the image rotate. But the rotated image will be returned by this function. So I'm going to create a variable called rotated is equal to. So the rotated image resource will be put in here. So after this, we have to save it using image JPEG. Now, if you are using a PNG, it's going to be image PNG instead of image JPEG. That's how you save a PNG. So this is image JPEG. So you supply the image resource, you tell it the new file name on the next one after the comma. So it's going to be image rotated, I think that's what I wanted to name it, .jpg. And then you give it the value, the quality, that is from 0 to 100%. So I'll just use 90. 90 is usually good. 100 is usually a waste of space. So the file size will be determined by this as well. That's the quality, image quality. And when we are done with this, we need to destroy these images because they take a lot of memory space, these image resources. So let's destroy them. I'm going to say image destroy. And that's the image we'll destroy. And let's duplicate this and also destroy the rotated version like that. Now, actually to save, we're supposed to save this rotated version because if we save this one, we are saving the original as it is. The rotated version is this one. So we're saving the rotated version. So at this point, this is all we need to do. So image rotate, the image resource. Oh, what's happening? Yeah, we are saving this one. Okay. So we create an image resource. We rotate with this angle and we save that and destroy the evidence. All right. So far so good. So let's give it a spin and see what happens. So I'll refresh and then hit rotate. Okay, nothing has happened. Let me add a value of 90. Nothing has happened. Okay, so let's check in the folder to make sure that there's no new image, and that's actually true. So what exactly has happened? So one of these did not work out, and I have to guess which that was. Okay, so I have to make sure that it's reaching all these. So I'll just put some echoes here. I'll just say here 1 to see where it's not reaching. And then let's see, let it echo here 2, something like that, because I'm not getting any errors. So this is what I will use to troubleshoot so that I know where it's hanging. Okay, so let me do that again. 90. So it's definitely not going through any of these. So it's not even going through there. So this is where the problem is here. If server request method is equal to post, so this is not becoming a post. So that's where the problem is. So I think I know what the issue is. So let me delete all that. It's because I didn't specify that the form has a method of post. Okay, so now that we've given it a method of post, we should see something here. So let's put 90 degrees and rotate. Okay, so there we go, 0 degrees rotation. Let's add a 90 degree. There we go, and 180 degree. There we go. So that's how easy it is to rotate an actual image. You can actually put negative values and let's say minus 90 degrees. Something like that. Now let's add a very weird angle like 30 degrees and see what happens. So this is what happens here when you do a weird angle. So you have this black color here. Now if you want to change this black color right here, this is where this part comes in, where there's a 0. So you can create a color. So let's create a color here. Let's say color is equal to, now to create a color you have to say image color allocate. So if you want to be able to allocate a color with an alpha, you can say image color allocate alpha. This is good for PNG images and so on. So in here, the parameters that are required is first the image resource and then the red value. So I'm just going to put 255. The green value, I'll put 50. These are just random values. And then here I'll put 100. So this creates a color for this image resource. And then that's the color right there, which I grab, and instead of the 0, I'll put the color there and save. So now if I redo this and say 90 degrees, rotate. Okay, so what's happening here is that there's some caching going on, if I'm not mistaken. Oh no, actually, that's correct. Let me do 30 degrees and see. Okay, there we go. So now we see that the color, we've managed to change this color. So this is good if you want to be able to do something like this, something stylized like that. Okay, so let's move forward now. Now for the second part of this, so this is the basic way to do it. So you can end here and end the tutorial, but there's one more pressing matter I want to bring your attention to. So let me delete this rotated image and use this image from an actual camera. So we're going to load this image from an actual camera. So let me change that to image 2. And let me go up here and also change that file name to image 2 so that we're looking at a different image. And let's refresh our browser. So this is the image. Now I want you to pay attention to something here. If I increase the thumbnails, you see that this image in the browser, in the file browser, is upright. But on my internet browser, it's rotated on its side. That's because in the Windows browser can get information, the metadata of the image, and actually know that the orientation was like this when taking a photo, because I flipped my camera when taking this pic. And so I wanted to be able to automatically know what is the right orientation and then flip the image correctly without me actually adding a value there. So let's program it in such a way that if the image itself has orientation data, it will ignore this and just orient itself automatically. So in order to do that, we have to get a bit of information from the file name itself. So to start with, let me show you a difference here by loading the data of the computer generated file. So I'll take back the file name here to image.jpg, and then what I'll do is I'll put the die so that the script ends here and doesn't continue. And then I'm going to create a variable called data is equal to, now there's a function called exif read data. That's the one right there. So this reads data from an image. So I'll use the file name, it will read that data. Now it returns an array. So I'm going to print R to see that array. Okay, now the array looks better with pre-tags. So I'm going to echo a few pre-tags here, like that, opening and closing pre-tag. Then let me put the other one on top. So here what I'm doing is I'm stopping the script here and having it to print the data that we got from the file name. So let's see. Now here we are getting the file from this cartoon image which was generated on the computer. So let me refresh. Let me hit submit. And this is the information we see. So there's the file name, the date, and so on and so forth, the width and height. So this is all the information you get from this one. However, if I change the image to the one generated by a camera, you will see that the information is more. So you look down here, there's all this information that comes with it. So that can be very useful information here. You can extract and do some interesting things to the image based on that information. So what I'm looking for is this one, orientation is equal to 8. So I just want to get this orientation right there. Okay. So 8 means it was flipped in one way or the other. So we can use this number to know how to flip it back so that it goes the right way up. Okay. So now we have this data right there. So what I would do, I'll rename this data to exif just for easy coding. Then I'm going to delete this part. So I don't need to see that information. I've seen it and I'm looking for orientation. So I have to check if the orientation exists, then replace this angle with the existing orientation. So let me do here and just say check orientation so that we know what this segment is about. Now I already wrote some code for this. What to do after the orientation is in a certain way, because you can do the experiment yourself. Get a few images that are oriented differently and then check what the number of the orientation is, and then decide how much to rotate the image in order to get it back to normal. However, I already did something like that, and here was my result. Here's the logic that I created after doing that. So the logic here goes, if is set this exif orientation. So if the orientation is set, it means the image we are looking at has orientation data. So let's check that orientation. And we assign that orientation to the value to this variable called A. So if the A is equal to 3, this is what I found personally, then rotate it 180 degrees left. So this is the angle. And when it's equal to 5, that's the angle. When it's equal to 6, we rotate it like that. When it's equal to 7, that's the rotation. When it's equal to 8, we rotate it like that. Okay, so ours is 8, so we need to rotate it 90 degrees. So what we've done here is replace the angle. Whatever value was brought in from the user is discarded, and then we add this one, whatever that value is, and then we use that to actually rotate our image. So this is like an automatic rotation. So let's give it a spin to see what happens. So this number here is ignored, so you see there's a 0, and let me hit rotate. Now we get an error here that says allowed memory size is that. However, we have exhausted memory when we tried to add an additional this number of bytes. So what this means is my PHP has run out of memory that it's allocated. So to change that, I have to edit my PHP ini file. Now using XAMPP, you can get that file from here, the config, and go to PHP ini. Or you can simply go to your web server folder and go to the PHP folder. You're going to find the php.ini. So in here, it's a text file which has settings for your PHP, simply go to memory. Oh, I can't type anymore. Memory limit underscore limit, like that. Oh, sorry, wrong spelling. Memory underscore limit. So you find this one, memory limit. Mine is 128 megabytes. Yours could be 32 or 64. So just change this until you have enough for your image. So in my case, I'm going to put 256 because it's over 128. So let me put 256 there as the limit and then save that. So now if I refresh, it should work this time. All right, so you see the straight version, and oh, I've accidentally zoomed in the browser. So you see the original and you see the rotated version. All right, so sometimes when doing these tests, your browser can cache your image, making you think that it's not being rotated or something. So if that happens, just go here and add question marks and put some numbers, just some random numbers here and there also. That will remove the caching. Okay, so that's how you do it. That's how you rotate an image. Hopefully you learned something new, and I'll see you in another tutorial.